Well, surprise. Hey everyone, it's Corinna from mydigitalfarmer.com. Hope you guys are doing great. I know you're probably out in the field right now getting things ready because spring is upon us and most farmers are not sitting in front of their phones waiting to watch a live video training. But I wanted to pop in today because it's been a few weeks since I've been inside the group with a training, and I wanted to make sure that I talked about something that's been kind of front and center for me for the last few weeks. So today's topic is all about how to use our social media posts to really deeply connect with our audience and to drive engagement. So I don't know if you've ever wondered what to post. I know sometimes, like in the thick of the day, I'm really busy doing other things, running around markets or packing stuff up or out in the fields trying to help my husband farm. And I, in the back of my mind, know, I got to make sure I get on Instagram and post something, try to make an Instagram story, and put together some kind of a Facebook post as well. And oftentimes I don't know what I should post. So, I just throw up a quick picture of something in the field, type out something real quick with my thumbs and send it off. And I can just feel good, check that thing off in my mind on my checklist that I took care of it, it's done. I don't know if that's ever been your experience. And sometimes the posts will resonate and sometimes they won't. And, I just feel like I'm after this holy grail of tons of comments and tons of likes, and I want my page to grow and I want to feel like people are interacting with my brand. And it's just, I have often struggled with how do I create content like that when my life is just so crazy. I don't have time to think about this stuff. So I wanted to talk about that today, and I wanted to kind of share some of the success that I've been seeing lately, because I feel like I'm starting to crack the code. I don't know if that's really the right phrase, but I'm getting better and better at figuring out how my audience wants me to talk or what they're interested in and what I need to do with this content to resonate and get them to engage. So that is what we're talking about today. I'm going to make this a pretty short training. My goal is under 10 minutes, all right? I'm going to give you tons of examples, and I'm going to give you a very practical thing that I think is going to help you a lot to get better at this. So it's easy to forget the goal of posting on social. I think a lot of times we think that, it's all about promoting. Like we use it as a primary place to promote our offers. Come visit me at the market today. This is what we're going to have. Sign up for my CSA, get a chicken share, whatever. Okay. We use it primarily that way, and that's kind of our go-to. But social is really a place where we can do a couple of other things really well. I kind of see Facebook as also a top of funnel tool. So a place to drive what I would call brand awareness and engagement. So the goal of Facebook, like if you were to ask Facebook what they want you to do, they want you to try and create posts that will encourage and stimulate conversation, not just between you, but between other people that are in the thread. So they really want it to be a place where we're gathering together people and creating conversations. So that's one of the things I want to challenge you with today. We're not going to talk a lot about what to post when we're trying to promote something, because I think you've probably got that down. You probably have more promotional posts than you really should have in your social media feed. But today I want to talk about how do you get better at these other kinds of posts that drive brand awareness, that make people excited about who you are, that want to become a part of your tribe because they love the kinds of stuff that you talk about. So here's what I want you to remember. When we post something on social, we want it to resonate so deeply with those who are following us so that they feel like we have touched a piece of their own personal experience, their own personal story. Now, some of you are already intrinsically doing this, and I actually have been studying some other farms, especially on Instagram, who are just awesome at putting up a picture, but then writing a lot of copy underneath it. And the way they write the copy, it's not just explaining what's in the picture, but there's like a story in there that I'm resonating with. And that's what I want us to challenge us today to get better at. Here's an example. I didn't have to go too far. I opened up my Facebook page or Facebook feed today, and one of my friends, Weber Ranch out here in Toledo, happened to post a picture of a butcher block table that they apparently just made this weekend. And it wasn't just, the fact Weber Ranch is a meat producer, okay? So a butcher block kind of goes along with their brand. Obviously, they're butchering meat. Okay, so this had some significance in that respect. There was an affinity with their brand. But the way that Michelle put together the copy in her post, I want to read it to you because it's a great example of what I'm going to be talking about today. This is what she wrote. This butcher block table has been in my grandfather's makeshift butcher station in the basement of their home. After losing my grandfather early this spring, I wanted to bring this table back to life. Tony worked hard this weekend, giving it new life, and I am very honored to have it as an island in my kitchen. Okay, this post blew up, and there's reasons why it did, but she's not, obviously she's resonating with everyone who's lost their grandfather and this idea of, nostalgia, but she is carrying on the tradition of the butcher block into her family, right? As now they are becoming a butcher of sorts, a meat producer. And just this phrase of, we worked hard, giving it new life. Like when you read this, the people who support Tony and Michelle, like they're buying into this brand because they want to carry on this tradition of like, we want people like that who did it the old fashioned way and are carrying on those traditions. And this kind of copy, the way she wrote the words, resonates with that. It also brings us back to our own memories of our grandfather and what are the heirlooms that are in our family. Okay, so do you see how it wasn't just a picture of something that kind of goes along with their brand, but she wove a story that goes along with it, and she like tugged at our heartstrings and at the values that are in our hearts as their audience. Okay, so I want to kind of talk through 3 things real quick about how do you go about deeply connecting with people through social with your posts, okay? Number 1, the post's story. So you're thinking about, okay, what do I post? What kind of a picture do I put together? I want you to think about, kind of curate it through this lens. Number 1, the post story needs to connect with your audience, okay? So this means that you've got to speak to a memory or maybe a belief, a core value that your audience has, something that's really important to them, that they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I buy into that. So I've actually started looking through the eyes of my customer, not my own eyes, as I'm thinking through what to post. I'm asking, what would they want to see? What would they love to see? What would they want to learn? How can my brand inspire them today, or teach them, or scratch an itch that they have? Okay, that is really huge. So you might find a gorgeous picture of a broccoli plant, and it's really pretty, but then how do you pull out a story that they're gonna all resonate with? Maybe I would tell a story. An example here would be about the first time that I had to learn how to steam my own broccoli. And maybe I tie some kind of story to all the people who are like, oh my God, I remember the first time that I cooked, okay? And the value might be that I'm learning how to grow. I'm learning how to cook new things as a part of being a part of this brand. Okay, so the post story needs to connect and resonate with your audience more so than with you. Okay, so think through the eyes of your customer. The second thing I want to say, the copy of the post matters. It's not just the picture. So take good pictures, put up interesting pictures, but don't just quick whip out a sentence. A really powerful post is done when you think through, what am I going to talk about? How am I going to spin this picture? Okay. So it is an opportunity not just to explain what they're seeing, but why does it matter to your audience? Who cares that you're putting this up? Why does it matter? You need to tell them why it matters. What is that value story that you can hint at? Okay. So this is where I get to my 3rd tip: create content pillars or value pillars. I call them content pillars. This has been a huge help for me. Basically what this is I have made a short list. Well, it's about 10 things, maybe 5 to 10 lists, a list of 5 to 10 basic value pillars that your brand stands for. And if you've been around for a while, this won't be as hard as you think. Okay, so I want you to just think, what are the things that are important to you as a brand, or to you as a farmer? If you look back at the kinds of stuff you've already posted in the past, what are the things that have resonated really well with your audience, and what do they have in common? What are some of the underlying values and stories that are going on under there? So as a general rule, I try to make sure that each of my posts somehow points to one of these values in my copy. Like when I'm typing something out, I take a few extra sentences to point to the value statement, okay? So as I talk about this post, I do it in such a way that points the finger to highlight the lesson or the value that I want to share, okay? And that's the part that's going to resonate with your audience. I want them to engage, right? I want them to comment. I want them not just to like, but I want them to comment. I want it to stir their soul so that they actually want to say something in return and be like, yes, I believe that too. This is the brand. They understand me, okay? So I want to show you just what that looks like. I have a little page. It's going to look backwards because I didn't flip the camera, sorry. But this is just my cheat sheet that I have sitting around. And I'm going to just walk you through examples of what content pillars would be, what the topics might be for my farm, okay? This will maybe help you see what it looks like for yours. So these are the kinds of like categories that a lot of my social posts tend to fall under. So for example, variety and unusual. So we have a lot of unusual types of vegetables that we grow. So that's kind of one of our unique selling propositions. And so we push the envelope of our customers. So if I'm going to take a picture of tomatillos or some strange variety of tomato, I don't just take a picture of it, I can talk about how we're all about trying to push the envelope and try new stuff and variety and unusual, okay? That's going to speak to my avatar. Another one on my list here is knowing the farmer, the real relationship. So anytime I take a picture of my husband, it blows up. It blows up, and maybe you've noticed that too. And so here's where we don't want to just, make our farmer the hero of the story, because the customer is the hero in our story, in our brand story. But, the way we can talk about the farmer is like, hey, I want you to get to know something about our farmer, right? Here's the life of the farmer. Here's something a farmer does every day. Hey, my husband's favorite snack is kohlrabi with peanut butter, right? Like little things like that just endear your audience to say, oh my gosh, that post is helping me get to know the behind the scenes life of my farmer. He's a real guy, struggling with real things, celebrating real moments, having birthday parties. This is a real dude, and I feel like I'm living vicariously through his life, okay? So anytime you have a picture of yourself, think about spinning it with that know your farmer piece, okay? The story behind your food, that's another big content pillar. So a lot of my stuff is about teaching people how to use the product or some interesting thing about our food, how we grow it. I just put a picture up the other day of a tiling machine. Just went crazy because it's a scary looking picture, but people are like, what is that? And telling the story behind tiling and field tiling and what I didn't know about it until I married a farmer. So this is getting at, do you know where your food comes from? That's a lot of the reason why people join a CSA in particular. So when I stroke this itch and talk about that, draw that out in my copy of my posts, it resonates, okay? Changing the way people eat. That's kind of one of our big taglines. So putting up posts that really tie into this, like anytime I put a picture up of something that I've made or a new food that I've tried or showing a picture that a customer has posted in my group and saying, hey, we're changing the way people eat. Like we're trying new stuff and we're growing as foodies. That resonates too for us. Taking care of the soil, being stewards of Mother Earth. So again, anytime you take a picture of growing practices or your soil, talk about that. And I know a lot of farmers actually already do this well, but this is an example of how we tie in this value that we have of being stewards. A lot of your customers are coming to you and buying from you because of that reason. So when you talk about that, they want to go, yeah, I want to be with you. And they're going to engage and they're going to say, yes, I agree. Okay, so that's another really great topic. Fresh, beautiful food. So food as art is something that I wrote down. So a lot of our foodies really do see it as a place to be creative in the kitchen and to build something beautiful. And so when I talk about, sometimes I talk about my food as art, or I take a picture of the box contents and I really try to design the picture so that it's like a work of art. Okay, that's another kind of category. Two more. The local, and just community in general. So we do a really good job of creating this spirit of community with our private Facebook group, this whole group of foodies that are all in our CSA tribe. We have events and so forth. But when I talk about how we are a part of our local community, when I highlight other local businesses, that's tapping into this need that many of my customers have for, I'm supporting you because you're local and I want to support people who also support local. That's important to me. So when we speak that language to them, that resonates and it makes them say, again, I want to be a part of this tribe, or I made a good decision to be a part of this tribe, and it reinforces their loyalty to you. And then finally, another one that I'm going to talk about, give an example of here in a second, is just the idea of the wise farmer. So I like to share posts that talk about life lessons that are alive and well here on the farm, because it's such a great laboratory for how to live, and the kinds of like real world practical skills that you can learn, and the character building that happens on a farm. People really resonate with those kinds of posts, I've discovered. And I think some of it is that they look at the farm as like this old-fashioned, the good old days, right? Like how everyone used to be, and there's a part of us that longs to go back into the past. So these kinds of posts are kind of scratching that nostalgia itch, like where they're like, they remember stories of when they were with their grandma on a farm, or they visited a farm, or they had such and such experience, or they learned that life lesson too, and it stirs something in their spirit, and it makes them want to share that as well. So this is where you're like thinking through, like, I'm living vicariously through my farmer, and I live in a little house on a cul-de-sac in a suburb, and I feel like I'm missing out on that opportunity to give those lessons to my kids. So when I can see someone who's doing it, and I can share that, it just brings that person joy, okay? So that has been a really big piece too. I actually want to give an example now of what this looks like. So last night I put up a post about my son Jed, who was out working, just doing work on the farm. He was checking some plants in the high tunnel for us. He's 11 years old, and I just shot a picture of him. The lighting was really good, backlit, and he's looking at some pepper plants, okay? Not an especially amazing shot, but listen to the copy that went with it, because this particular post has had, this is organic, okay? 224 likes and 21 comments and 4 shares, okay? Oh, so this is what I wrote. There's a reason farm kids develop a strong work ethic. Here is Jed checking the peppers under the high tunnel. Our boys, 7 and 11, are expected to help us with the operation of the farm. As they grow older, they receive more responsibilities and more work. I know they don't always like it, and it's certainly not always fun, but I also think it's our secret gift to them. Don't be afraid to give your kids real work at a young age. It is your blessing. Okay, so I just want you to pay attention to how the copy of that post is what stirred the hearts of people, not the image. And I decided to kind of go at this content pillar of life lessons from the farm, right? Like the wise farmer, parenting lesson. And as you listen to that, maybe you were thinking about a story of your own, were you? When you were a kid and your parents made you work hard, or if you're a farmer, you're like, yeah, I totally believe that, right? You're getting pulled into that story because it's resonating with an experience of your own. And that is why that particular post, I think, is doing so well, because it's drawing out someone else's experience. So that's a great example of how to write the post. The copy matters, pulling out some kind of value that's in your list of the content value pillars that you might have, okay? So these kinds of posts are powerful, really powerful. So not all of our posts on social need to be promotional in nature. In fact, I tend to do like 3 to 4 of these kinds of engagement posts to every 1 promotional post. And when we do the work and actually take a few extra minutes to think about how can I tell this story that goes along with this image, it's going to build a groundwork for your brand. It's going to kind of create a fan base so that when you have something to offer later, when you have something promotional, first of all, it won't feel so salesy, but they'll be more ready to say yes. So my challenge to you today is to take some time to think about how you can post something on your social networks today and weave a story or a value into the copy of that post. Might take you a little bit extra time, but it's totally worth it. I want you to give it a try today. Maybe take the next 2 days and play around with it, test it, see if you notice a difference, all right? So here's what I want you to do. Remember, the customer is not the hero in your brand story. You are not the hero in your brand story. Your customer is, okay? So make sure you're thinking through the eyes of your customer, what are the values they have that connect with yours, and talk about those things. Tell the stories of your brand in such a way that invites them into your story, okay? Your call to action is to come up with a list like this. Maybe you can just think of 5 things and write it down. And then I want you to write a post today that somehow draws out one of these values Put some copy together that pulls that story in and invites your reader into your story. See what happens and report back. Let me know if you notice a difference. This is a great tip, practical tip that has really helped me. I've noticed a huge difference in my social posts ever since I've been intentional about this. I think it's going to help you too. Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. If you haven't heard already, I have a podcast, the My Digital Farmer podcast. Today's episode 5 released today. So go check it out. You can go to iTunes, Stitcher, or Google Play and look for the My Digital Farmer podcast. Or you can go to my website, mydigitalfarmer.com/podcast, and you'll be able to see them there as well. Thanks for joining me. Have a good one, guys. Bye.